Welcome back to UFC Breakdown, where we've been taking a detailed look at all the action coming up at Fight Night Berlin on June the 20th. And now we're going to zone in on the main event, the first ever women's UFC title fight being held in Europe. It's a fascinating matchup between strawweight champion Joanna Jedrzejczyk and Jessica Penne. So this is it, a massive fight. Joanna trying to keep hold of the title for Europe, and Jessica coming over from America to try and get her hands on it as well. Dan, where is this one going to be won or lost?
Well, the first thing I've got to talk about with Joanna is her Muay Thai skills. She's a 6-time world champion. And this really shows in her game as well, because you'll see that the slight nuances, the slip-in, the head movement, and the pinpoint accurate striking. One thing that I really like that she does is backs her opponent up to the fence. I'm a big fan of footwork, and Joanna uses it better than most people. And what she does is she cuts the octagon down, so she forces her opponent up against the fence so she can keep him in that position when she starts to attack. And look at that, look at the accuracy of that. A fantastically placed punch against Carla Esparza, who's got good footwork and good head movement. You see it again here with Julianna Lima. Beautiful technique, followed by a kick. But as soon as she's circled onto the fence, she lands a knee, and then she circles away straight out again. So even when the fight is being contested in the centre of the octagon, it's always on her mind to push her opponent back against the fence. And from a striker's perspective, this is the best place to be to lay traps for your opponents. Keep that pressure on them, make them feel like there's nowhere to go, and she's very good at this. Now watch this. Look at the graphic. This shows all of the area of the octagon that Joanna's controlling, and the red area is the small part that Carla Esparza's got to use. And this is something that she's going to have to use against Jessica Penne. Given the fact that Penne's got great boxing, she's got good straight punches, if she can back her up to the fence, I'd really like to see her use more of her Muay Thai techniques, more kicks, more knees and more elbows, because she has such a well-rounded game on the feet, and at the moment we've only seen how good she is at boxing because she's been fighting so many grapplers. So let's have a look at Jessica Penne. So with Jessica Penne, it's all about her boxing. She doesn't throw as many kicks or as knees as the champion, but when she throws punches, she throws them nice and straight, nice and direct down the pipe. And if she's going to be able to back up Joanna and put her against the fence in order to initiate a takedown, those straight punches are going to be very useful. Coupled with a little bit of footwork and a little bit of head movement, she can cause her all kinds of problems. But there's no secret, she wants to punch her way into the clinch here. If she stands and trades for too long, I think Joanna's going to start to get the edge. So what I want to see Jessica Penne doing is using her boxing confidently to push her way in and get her hands on her opponent. And this is what straight boxing's good for. Now watch here, she'll punch her way in and she'll get her hands on Ashlyn Daly. And that's important because if she's not able to do that, it's going to be a long night for her because Joanna can keep her on the outside and pick her apart.
Joanna, as we know, is unbeaten and she's got such good striking as we've just seen there. But is she going to need defence more than ever against Penne?
Well, she's going to know what Jessica Penne is good at. She's going to know that Jessica Penne, the black belt in jiu-jitsu, she's going to win the fight on the ground if it's going to go there. So the thing that's really stood out in Joanna's fight against Carla Esparza when she won the belt was her takedown defense. Now, in her first 2 fights against Julianna Lima and Claudia Gadelha, the thing that she showed to me was that she can get back to her feet if it does end up on the ground. In her title fight, when she beat Carla Esparza for the belt, it was a takedown defense. And this here, this overhook, and getting her hips away from her opponent, even here when Carla Esparza's hunting for this back leg to try and pull her in, she's very good at keeping distance. Obviously, with her being a great Thai boxer, everybody that she fights pretty much is going to be trying to take her down to the ground. And it's arguable that she is not only one of the best strikers in the women's division, but one of the best strikers in mixed martial arts in general. And you can see this, every time she defends a takedown, she uses that opportunity to punish her opponent, to try and put her off shooting again. And this is part of the psychological battle as well. As soon as she'd stopped that takedown of Carla Esparza, the first one, you could see a little chink in her armor. You could see her breaking Carla Esparza, where she knew that it wasn't going to be an easy night. And if she can get that psychological advantage early on using a takedown defense, it's going to play dividend later on in the fight. So as you can see here, she stuffs the takedown, and as their opponent's standing back up, she hits them with elbows, with knees, and again, pushing them back against the fence so they're shooting out of desperation. But Penne's really got to find a way of getting underneath her opponent and getting her hands on her if she's going to win this fight.
We've seen that Joanna's striking is sensational, but is it fair to say that Penne might be the more complete fighter?
Well, yeah, I think so. She's definitely got more experience. I mean, you've got to remember, Joanna's only had 9 fights in MMA. She's unbeaten, so don't get me wrong. She's got all the skills in the world. But Jessica's been in there with some tough fighters. She's fought in Japan, she's fought all over the US, and she's been a world title holder as well in a previous organisation. So she has experience. She's been in title fights before, and she knows what it's like to prepare for one. So Jessica Penne in the clinch is what's really interesting to me. She's very flexible, she's very experienced on the ground, she's got a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. She uses her butterfly hooks very well to elevate her opponents, and she's very good at using her limbs to tie her opponents up, which is going to be essential against a Muay Thai fighter that's constantly trying to get back to her feet. As you can see with Randa Marcos, she's tying that arm up and then just landing short shots. And this is something that I really want to point out as well. Look at that leg dexterity just there. Yeah. She's very, very flexible. She's got very flexible hips, effective on the feet, but in my opinion, even more effective on the ground, because if she can put Joanna in a position where she can tie her up and smother her, that makes it difficult to deal with her on the floor. Look how she's creeping this leg up over the shoulder there. As soon as she feels she's in a good position, she can land some strikes. And look at that. That's the far hook. Comes over and hooks in on Aisling Daly's leg. And if you watch the rest of the video now, she manages to turn away off the fence to a more advantageous position. Wow. Obviously, Joanna's working in the same team that she's normally trained with. She's working with guys, so generally guys don't have the same hip dexterity and flexibility that someone like Jessica Penne does. And with this experience, she knows when to jump on a submission. She knows when to take the back. She knows when to use her limbs to tie her opponent up. And in this fight here with Aisling Daly, she almost got a triangle. It was really tight, but she also knew when to abandon it and take top position. And again, using that leg dexterity, that flexibility in her hips to keep keep that arm bound up so she could strike her without any kind of defense. And here against Jessica Ellis, she did a good job of doing the same thing, ties her up, traps an arm, nice extension on the hooks there as well, as you can see. And from the short shots that she was landing, she was able to creep an arm underneath Jessica Ellis's neck and get the submission. It's a beautiful technique. I think she's a very, very dangerous opponent if she can get the fight to where she needs it.
Yeah, no doubt about it. This is a fascinating matchup stylistically. Will Joanna change the way she's training for Jessica? Well, we're about to find out, because UFC Breakdown was given exclusive access to her training camp in Poland.
When I was 16, I started doing Muay Thai and kickboxing. I was pretty good. I had some dream that I would like to be a gold Olympic medalist in boxing. But I chose MMA, and I'm very happy because I am a UFC world champion. So we are in Arachion. It's our gym. When UFC announced my fight, our trainers did plans for preparation for upcoming fight with Jessica. I am doing sparrings right now. Everything is going good, no injuries, so I'm happy. I'm tall in this division, you know. Carla was very short, and I think Jessica gonna be same height as I am, but I am working good on my legs, and I can feel the balance and control. I can move to the back and in 1 second come forward, you know what I mean? So you cannot stand like a tree, you know, you must move all the time.
Brona. The best part of Joanna fight is stand up. But she trained more wrestling and jiu-jitsu, and I think now she's a complete fighter in the MMA.
I have good sparring partners. They are my height, maybe a little bit heavier, so they are more strong than me because they are men, but it's good for me, so I can fight easy with the female fighters. Everything is going good. We are happy. We're gonna put more pressure on my speed and cutting weight. Of course, I've got lots of experience in Muay Thai, kickboxing, so I can be more focused on wrestling and grappling because it's something new for me. But I like this game on the ground when I can shoot to the legs and take somebody down. before my fight with Gadela or Carla, people were talking about my bad wrestling in jiu-jitsu, but they could see that they couldn't do anything on the ground, you know. So I'm happy, and yeah, we more focus on the ground and wrestling than on stand-up. But of course, we keep on doing my things, and we will try to knock somebody out again. I know Jessica will try to take me down, but I will be ready for her. Yeah.
A great insight into Joanna's training camp there. Dan, anything that specifically caught your eye in that?
Most definitely. It was all about Joanna's footwork, traditional Muay Thai footwork. So let me talk you through this. Now, I'm going to play Joanna in this instance. So Dean's going to play Jessica Penne. So what I want to talk about is, first of all, her stance. She stands quite low and quite long, which helps her defend takedowns, which she's had to do every fight so far in the UFC. And I would imagine this one will be no different. But the footwork is very important, because what she likes to do is she's very aggressive. She likes to push her opponent back. But as her opponent's moving backwards, she'll just scrape from one side to the other, almost like a windshield wiper, and paint them into a corner. So basically what she wants is for them to feel like they've got nowhere to go. That's what I'm aiming to do. Now, once I can get her square against the fence, this is where I want her, because this is where it starts to get interesting. Now I can start dictating to her which direction I want her to move in. So as I'm standing in front of my opponent here, it's a 50-50 option right now, and I can't decide which way she's going to go. Whereas if I give her a small window, that feels like a massive window to a person that's stuck against the fence. So they will immediately move to that space. What that allows me to do is to lay traps and to set them up. Now, a low kick's always more effective if the person is stepping as you land it, because the muscle's contracted, it will bruise much easier. So in this situation here, if I take a small step, as she steps, I can throw a nice big low kick to that lead leg. And it's all about this control, all about cutting my opponent down. If I step this way, same situation, I've got my lead hook or my inside low kick as well. But what it is doing, it is allowing me to dictate where the fight goes. Not only have I given her less octagon to work with, so this is now all under my control, but I'm also now deciding which way she's going to step. I can either choose this way, or I can choose this way. So she's got some options, but the best thing about this is having her opponent up against the fence. It's her choice to make. She can decide where her opponent's going to go and what technique she throws. So once Joanna's got her opponent pushed up against the fence, like I said, they have two options for movement. The third option really is to push forward and try and shoot, which, if you watch a Carla Esparza fight, you'll see this happening a lot. And the thing that she uses really well is the overhook, the whizzer, and then the elbow to counter. So if I'm in this position and my opponent shoots at me, what I'm doing, I'm posting here, building a frame on her head, and then I'm whizzering on this far side. So if you get underneath here, you'll be able to see it. This whizzer here is the most important thing, because this creates a wall between me and my opponent. So from this position, the thing that Joanna does really well, she's heavy on this, she gets her hips really far back, and then she posts on the head and elbows. And this is something that we've not seen a great deal in the octagon before. She's really pioneering this type of takedown defense. And the nice thing from here is, with this whizzer, she can start to lift her opponent back up, and this is where her knees come in and her elbows. So in that position, she can hit you with all kinds of stuff, and it's a really unfavorable position to get caught in. So the roles are reversed. Now I'm in Jessica's position. So I've been backed up to the fence. I have a couple of options. I can either move and keep trying to strike, or I can shoot and get this fight to the floor. Now, going back to what I was just talking about with Joanna's takedown defense. If I'm Jessica and I shoot in here, Joanna's going to defend it, just as we were talking about, with this beautiful whizzer on the side and the head position. Now, if I try and drive into here, this is just going to stand us back up, and then I'm going to get hit with knees and elbows. So what I would like to see Jessica do here is use this grip she's got on the back leg. Instead of trying to drive up, if I duck myself underneath, I can pull my opponent into half guard. And if you can see where my legs are now, I have control of one of my opponent's legs, so this is my half guard position. And I can use this for all kinds of sweeps. One that I like in particular is old school. I can grab this ankle here, and I'm hooking this back leg, so I can lift myself up onto my knees and then basically bully my opponent over. That's one option that she's got. The other option in this position, which I actually think's a bit more effective for this, as I shoot here and my opponent defends it, Same thing again, sliding under my opponent, but this time I'm going to control this wrist. And what I also want to do is clamp my elbow nice and close to my side. So I'm keeping Dean close to me here. I'm not allowing my opponent any space. What I can do with this, again with this far ankle, I'm just going to roll over my back and lift with this. And that ends up in half guard top. And from this position, Jessica's got a good chance of winning the fight.
Time for another break now, but when we return, hot on the back of his recent title fight announcement, Alex Gustafsson joins us in the studio to fill us in on what he's been up to and to talk all things Fight Night Berlin.
Every fight is different and I will come in there with a different tactic. I'll be more than ready.